Hi everyone and welcome to a new video. We have a lot of stuff going on in the past few weeks, and I can imagine, especially if you're new to crypto, that you might be worried that this is already the end of the bull run. Of course, nobody can predict if the market will go up or down in the end, but there are a few things that you can keep in mind, and hopefully that will give you a little bit of perspective on the cryptocurrency market or markets overall. If you like the sound of that, be sure to hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe at the end of the video. As we all know, we had some serious market corrections in the past 7 days. Thankfully, it seems like the market is getting a little bit more stable again. But of course, the main question is, did we enter a bear market or is the bull market still going to continue? This of course will influence whether or not you will buy new tokens, sell your current tokens and so forth. So when we take a look at the Bitcoin chart and we take a look at the 1 year graph, then this is what we see. Now, if you compare this situation to, for example, 2017, 2018, then you here clearly see a parabolic run up. And if we then go back to 2014, we see a similar movement. Now, of course, history never repeats itself exactly, but I think it's safe to say that we haven't hit that parabolic move yet. So yes, there are natural tendencies to each market and we see similar patterns emerge because we are all humans, we don't change, we are very emotional, and half of what happens in the market is purely based on emotions. So yes, nobody says that the Bitcoin graph has to go parabolic, and nobody says that it has to be plotted out as clear as we see in this classic example of the psychology of the market cycle. So in theory, we might have had this little dip and we might have a little bump up and then maybe it might be over. Now, there is something else that you could consider, and that is more institutional investors are jumping into Bitcoin. And if there's one thing that we can count on is that our beloved institutions, they have no intention whatsoever to play fair. Just a small example, and you can find such examples of such scale every single year, is last year JP Morgan admits metal treasuries spoofing and pays almost a $1 billion fine. And you find this kind of news in every year, every quarter and so forth. And of course it's not just JP Morgan, it's all the banks, it's all the institutions. There is constant corruption and stock market manipulation and so forth. So there is enough proof that institutions have no problem in manipulating billion-dollar markets. So why would it be different in the cryptocurrency market that is even less regulated? And if we then take a look at how mainstream media likes to time and recycle certain news as if it was the news of the day, then you can imagine that there might be some stuff going on. For example, the news that India might ban cryptocurrencies has been recycled in the past few months so many times. For example, just looking at CNBC, we have January the 30th, we repeat the same message in February, and we then repeat the message again in March. And today was another great day for recycling because Reuters tells us China bans financial payment institutions from cryptocurrency business. Yes, this was posted 6 hours ago. It was the great news of the day. Now, if you do a little bit of Googling, then the first thing you will find is a Wikipedia page nicely summing up everything that has to do with crypto regulation, and we see that financial institutions are not allowed to facilitate Bitcoin transactions since 5 December 2013, so yes, about 8 years ago, and cryptocurrency exchanges and trading platforms were effectively banned in 2017. So how this becomes the news of the day in 2021 by a respected agency like Reuters, no idea. Now, of course, the fact that the mass media influences the public opinion is nothing new. It is very normal. It's just sad that a lot of reporters are not doing as good of a job as they should. Now, if we go back to the 1920s, we of course all remember the big stock market crash followed by the Great Depression in the US. Well, during this time we had somebody called Richard D. Wyckoff, and he observed the markets very closely. Now, because he thought the balance between the institutional investors and the retail investors were so unfair, he dedicated himself to instructing the public about quote-unquote the real rules of the game. Basically, he made an entire course about all the quote-unquote games that the institutions like to play in order to get what they want out of the stock market. One of these games we now know as the Wyckoff Distribution. So how does it work? Well, the play is being made when the market is moving up a lot. Then we have a big sell-off. Then we have a few tests to make sure that the market is going the way that we like it to go. And then, of course, when we are ready and the test is confirmed, we take our short positions and we make a lot of money on the way down as well. Now, one of the first, I think, to publicly recognize this pattern is a YouTuber called Uncompilation. I'll put a link to his videos in the description of this video. And also want to do a shout out to Chico Crypto, because it was during his live stream that I was made aware of this video. Now, without going too much into detail, we do see the pattern emerging on the current Bitcoin chart. Now, this video was made at the end of April, so he didn't know how this would turn out. I also want to point out that if you're in a market with a lot of data and a lot of data points, you are always able to find a pattern if you really want to. So also be careful, because you don't want to overanalyze stuff. You can see whatever you want in charts. So do keep that in mind, but we don't have to be naive either. So I do think this is something interesting to keep an eye on. Now today Uncompilation made a second video acknowledging that the pattern didn't play out completely. Now, of course, this can mean a few things. This means that it was a coincidence that the pattern looks the same, or it could mean that the people who were trying to influence the market failed at influencing the way they wanted to, or, and this is the part that he talks about in this video, they might have another game in mind. As you can see, he is now taking a look at the Ethereum chart, and there might be a similar pattern emerging. And of course, if we don't want Ethereum to break down completely, then we don't want Bitcoin to crash all the way down. So this might be a reason why you could keep the price up here rather than letting it go down completely. So what do we do with this kind of information? Well, on one hand, you can be pessimistic and say, well, if the weekly candle closes below the 21 EMA, then we're done for. We're entering the bear market. I'm selling everything, and I'll see you guys in the next bull run. Or you can be very optimistic and say, yes, the market might be manipulated. And then you can actually even look at this chart of 2017 and say, hey, we had a similar situation right here. So this means that we have a massive move upcoming in the next few months. So this is definitely the most optimistic view. Now, if you're wondering what I'm going to do, well, I'm going to be very honest to you guys. I am probably somebody who is going to sell too late. So I'm definitely in the optimistic camp. So even if we break down and we move all the way into that 30K zone, I will definitely be buying the dip. Now, if Bitcoin continues moving sideways on these levels, then I'll definitely keep a closer eye on the charts of Ethereum and see if there is indeed a pattern emerging like Uncompilation as suggested in his video. Now, before we finish off this video, I do like to point out that none of this is financial advice. So please always do your own research, and please know that nobody knows exactly where the market is going. Now, regardless of that, corrections are very common in a bull market, 30%, 40%. This is nothing uncommon. This was the same way in 2014, it was the same in 2017, and it will not be different in 2021. Of course, eventually, one of the corrections will be the last one in the bull run. So keep that in mind. For me personally, as I told you before, I don't think this one is quote unquote the correction, and I do think the bull market will continue. Now, because this is such an interesting topic and everybody wonders when they should sell, when they should buy, I am very interested in knowing what your opinion is on this. So if you have any opinion on the current market, where you think it's going, if we're entering the bear market, if the bull market is just getting started, if you think the market is being manipulated, if you have any opinion on this, please do post a comment. For everyone else, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Bye.